Welcome to Thursday night on the PPR channel. It is time for Southern Discomfort. So we thank everybody for tuning in across all channels, the PPR channel, the Yo Baby channel, and Facebook. And I'm going to go ahead and pull Bethany up. Hey, Blondie.
Hey, what's up?
Nothing. Let's do your little intro.
Hello, Bethany. How are you? Tiptoe through the tulips with me.
Welcome, Bethany.
Gee, thanks. Well, at least that was the cooler one of the many intros that you've given me.
I picked a different one. Hey, Kenneth,
Like it.
welcome to the chat. Thank you for joining us. So, yeah, I figured since it's a countdown for Halloween, we should do something with a little creepier. With a little creepy clown Jack in the Box video that Dustin made just for you. Don't you feel special? No comment?
I'm sorry, what?
I said, don't you feel special? You have your own video. You have like 3 or 4 different intro videos.
I do. I feel the love.
You should feel special. I only have like
I
2 different
do.
intro.
That's because you suck. So does your list for tonight.
4 or 5. Oh, no.
Oh, no, it's us. It's about as generic as peanut butter and jelly. I warn everybody preemptively.
Yours might as well have Twilight on there. I'll just put it that way.
No, we already talked about this. No, you're just jealous because I have imagination. You have none. You just literally went on I'm just going to pick the top 10. Okay, I'm all done.
Movie taste. No, I have each of those movies I own on my top 10 list, except for one of them.
I feel like I should be applauding.
I don't buy movies that I don't like.
I don't buy. Yes, you do. I've seen you and be like, why did I buy this? I'm stupid.
From a thrift store, maybe. So I want to add it to my collection. Yes, I do. Well, I take that back. I do buy movies that I don't like. For example, I bought Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, and I don't like either of those movies. I bought them because I'm a huge Michael Myers fan and because I cannot stand not having a franchise complete. I have to have every movie in the franchise or I lose sleep at night. It bothers me if my collection is not complete.
Even if the movie's terrible. This is what I'm talking about. How many stupid movies have you made me sit through and they were terrible?
It's all about your perspective. There are very few of those movies that were actually terrible. The only one I went on a tangent on was, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, was In a Violent Nature. So we are comparing top 10 lists. Now, I will say this tonight. There are certain movies that we both agreed on, and we figured they needed to be on one of our lists. So just because I have a top 10 and she has a top 10 doesn't mean that we don't like some of the movies that are on each other's list, but we also have disagreements about movies that are on each other's list. Hey, Bud Files, welcome to the chat. So tonight we are starting our countdown to Halloween, and we are looking at our top 10 vampire movie flicks. That is what we are going to be discussing tonight. And then next week, we are going to be doing our top 10 slasher movies. Now, I'll preemptively warn you about slashers. we did not include giallo slashers. We did not include Italian horror slashers on this list. We have a whole separate category for that later on that we are going to do. It was just too many to pick from, so we needed to divide categories a little bit. So next week will be slashers, and then later on we will do giallo slashers. And then we also have, let's see, what's after slashers? I think after slashers, it is supernatural scares. So we're going to be looking at our top 10 ghost and haunting movies. Then after that, it's werewolves on October 17th, which will be a supermoon. That's why we picked that date. And then the week after that, we're doing demons. And then after that, giallo slashers. We changed creepy dolls to giallo just simply because there was hardly enough good creepy doll movies to fill a top 10 list. So we decided to switch and do that. Leaving anything out, Bethany, before we hop into these lists here in just a minute? We'll wait a little bit longer to let some folks jump on.
No, I mean, you pretty much covered everything.
Okay.
And I do want to say, you and I have talked especially, and I'm just going to go ahead and say this to everybody who's going to get ready to watch. Neither, and it's a spoiler, neither Zeke nor I added Lost Boys to our list.
Yep.
Actually, he and I both talked about this. We both kind of agreed, like the main problem, we talked actually a lot about Twilight. Neither he nor I are fans at all. For me, it's just romantic teenage fan fiction. That's all it was. But, hey, I'm sure there's people out there, and even if you're listening or watching, if that's your dang thing, good for you. Not mine, not his. There was too much teenage angst, not enough vampires, and that was our problem with Lost Boys. Too much teenage angst. There was too much focus on like Michael and Star, and not enough carnage for our taste. But if you're out there and you're a fan of the Lost Boys, have at it.
Yep, we'll go ahead and get that out of the way because people are going to be like, why isn't Lost Boys on your list? Why isn't Lost Boys on your list? And I know there are people that like it, and no shade. Top 10 lists are always subjective to the person who is watching them. And you can kind of gauge that if you like a few movies on their top 10 list and you haven't seen the others, you can probably kind of guarantee you're probably going to like some of the other movies that this person has picked. So that's kind of how we're going at this. But yeah, Lost Boys just didn't ever really do it for me. Like you said, it wasn't enough blood and carnage for a vampire movie for me, for a more modern vampire. Like, I know you don't have that in some of the older ones, and some of the older ones that we have on our list. Some of the other ones don't have that because they're more comedy focused. But I've always wanted a little more from Lost Boys. But some of these movies on our list, you probably will have seen. Some of them you may have not. So hopefully that you will enjoy this top 10 battle that Bethany and I are going to have. Hey, Crossover, welcome to the chat. Thank you for joining us. Glad that you were here tonight. So just to remind everybody, we will be back Sunday night, continuing our study on the book of Revelation. We will be in Revelation chapter 17, looking at John's vision of the whore of Babylon. So a lot of very cool and lucrative, that's not the word I'm thinking of, very exotic type of imagery there in this particular vision. So we'll be doing that Sunday night at 8 p.m. However, tonight we are going to kick off our countdown to Halloween with our top 10 vampire flicks. So, Bethany, how do you want to do this? Who wants to go first?
Well,
I got an idea. Why don't we do this? I have a number in my head. I'll pick a number from 1 to 10. You pick a number.
Just go first. Just go first.
I'll tell you if it's right. You want me to go first?
Yes, just go first so
Okay,
I can make fun of you.
You don't want to go first.
Well, who should you have pulled up first? You or me?
It doesn't matter. I have them all in the orders ranging from 10 to number 1.
I'm not getting all the comments, so I can't ask anybody in chat.
You want to take a vote? See if anybody
Fine.
may not care. Who do y'all want to go first? Me or Bethany? Whose top 10 list should go first? We'll take a vote for people in chat. Thank you, Crossover. Thank you for sharing it out. We'll wait for any vote to come in chat. Zeke or Bethany, who goes first? Or on Facebook, because I'll get the Facebook comments in here as well. You know, Bethany, around last year at this time, it's funny that Dustin had that Tiny Tim song. I believe I sang that to you.
Yes, you did. Just
in my Art the Clown.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay. We'll see if any votes come in. Maybe they don't care. Maybe we'll just go. We'll wait another minute or so.
Okay, then just pull mine up.
Yours? Yeah. What? Are you sure?
Sorry. By the way, if you can hear one of my little ones, they're up.
That's okay. All right, you sure this is your final answer? Because you were wanting me to go first.
No, because here's the thing. No matter what I do, you're going to make fun of it. It's just that, I'm going to make fun of yours, so.
Okay. All right. Well,
you can go. You can go first.
You want me to go?
Wait a minute. Somebody respond. Ladies first. Fine. Ladies I'll go first.
All right. Let's go ahead and start with, oh, God, you're number 10. Number 10.
It was funny. He complained about it, and I'm like, I'm going to watch it. And I'm like, I liked it. And the sound of disgust and betrayal in your voice, you went,
movie.
Really? He does. He hates it. I like it. Okay. I liked it. I really liked it. Are we going backwards from 10 to 1?
Yes.
All right. So I really enjoyed The Hunger. It has David Bowie, Susan Sarandon. There's actually a cameo of Willem Dafoe and John. I can't remember his name. He played Ira in Mad About You, and he also played with Willem Dafoe in To Live and Die in L.A.
Yeah, which was a way better movie than this one.
It was a good movie. Actually, I talked with him. I'd like us to do a top 10 action movie at some point this winter. But anyway, I liked the movie because it had to do with the interesting downside of being a vampire. It was about a female vampire, and she had a lover, David Bowie, and she was able to make him immortal, but he was aging. And instead of putting him out of his misery, she collected him with her other lovers, I think inside her attic. But anyway, I really liked the concept. It's more of an erotic horror, but to be fair, Hollywood at the time hated it with Zeke and said, and I quote, artsy fartsy garbage. So I think it's going to be one of those movies. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it.
Yes, it is. I would agree with that one. You're going to love this one or you're going to hate it. It was too uppity for my taste. I have a trailer park taste. Give me vampires in the trailer park all day long.
See, when I think of vampires, I think of gothic romance. I think of wealth. I think of that. I think of sophistication. Not everybody thinks that Bush's baked beans is the definition of sophistication like you do. So yes.
Gothic vampires. You will see that from my list.
I like gothic vampires, and I'm sorry, I like David Bowie. Sorry, sue me.
All right, let's go on to your number 9, Blondie. Dracula Dead and Loving It.
I'm sorry. The actor, I can't remember his name, he played Renfield, who was hilarious. And you remember when we watched some of the video nasties, all I kept quoting was that line from Dracula Dead and Loving It. My God, what are you doing to the furniture?
Yeah.
Too hilarious. Love Leslie Nielsen. I like Mel Brooks. And this is one of my favorites.
Yeah, this one is a good one. This one is funny. So if you like that very dry sense of humor that Leslie Nielsen has, if you've seen Naked Gun, this one's great. Anything else you want to add about that one, Blondie?
I'm pretty sure it was pretty much a ripoff and a spoof of my number 1.
Yeah, it is. It's a spoof of like all of the Dracula movies. They're a spoof off of Bram Stoker's story.
So yeah, go ahead.
All right, let's go to your number 8. Stephen King's Night Flyer. What do you want to say about that, Blondie?
I liked the originality and the carnage. To me, this is more what a vampire horror should be. Just gross and creepy.
And this one, the vampire's nasty looking. He's very, very gruesome looking. You can kind of see that from the cover, but in this movie in particular, they have some good shots. This one is one that kind of, interestingly, Night Flyer, it flies under the radar. You don't hear this one talked about enough. You can actually find it on YouTube right now to stream for free.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like the greatest vampire. To me, it's more of a pretty good attempt at B-movie horror and still with a creepy kind of edge.
Yep. All right, next on your list, number 6, John Carpenter's Vampires.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I really like this one. The desert, the desolation, the grit. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
This is a good one. It's one of my favorites.
This is. I agree with that pick, Blondie. That's a good one. Definitely. That hotel scene is one of my favorite scenes. When the vampire comes in there and it's just absolute carnage. Very good. This is definitely action horror. So if that is your speed and you have not checked this one out, definitely do that. Anything else about this one, Bethany?
Okay. The previous one, Night Flyer, I did want to say, I know he had played on Twin Peaks. Ironically enough, the actress who played Laura from Twin Peaks is also in John Carpenter's Vampires. As well as, oh, come on, I can see his face. He played, he was in Aliens as the AI. What is his name? He was the lead hunter. Come on. Help me out here. What is his name?
The main guy?
Yeah.
I keep wanting to say Lance Henriksen, and that's not it.
Yeah, it is.
It is him?
Yes, that's him. That's him. He's in this and really excellent in it. But I could watch anything that he's in.
It's all right. It's always the guy who reminds me of Lance Henriksen. It's James Woods. That's who it is.
Oh my gosh, you're right. I get because he has the look, and you're right. Oh my gosh, that's it. James Woods is the other one. Yes, I would watch anything he's in. He's also in one of my other favorites, Videodrome.
Yep. So definitely a cool one. All right, let's go to your number 5. Old School, House That Dripped Blood.
One of my favorites. It's been a long time since I've seen this one. But it's the last segment, the vampires. And to me, What better place for vampires than Hollywood?
Yes, this one is an anthology.
Yes.
And like she was saying, the last segment on there is vampires. So if you don't want to watch the whole thing, you can skip to the last segment. But the whole movie's actually good. It's worth a watch. And this one, I'm pretty sure this one is still on Tubi, I think.
I'm not sure.
All right. Anything else you want to say about this one?
No, go to the next one.
All right. Number 4. I agree with this pick. Waxwork.
Yes. I wasn't sure if I wanted to use this one for the vampires or the werewolves. But it's also kind of an anthology. If you haven't seen it, it's well worth it. Basically about teenagers who go into a wax museum, and each of the waxworks depicts a story, and one of them is vampires.
Yes.
To me, it fits it because you have the dinner scene where it's this kind of sensual, like overly romantic, dramatic vampires. And then in the basement, you have somebody who's being slaughtered for their meal.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. This is, as far as the 80s movies horror goes, this is a classic. It's one of my favorite 80s horror. This is one I watch over and over again. It won't be on our werewolf list.
No?
This one, no, because we've already talked about it. But,
so yeah, actually, I will say then, if you're also into werewolves, it has my other favorite werewolf segment. Ironically enough, the boy who is in the werewolf segment was also on Twin Peaks.
Yes, the werewolf
as Laura's boyfriend.
The werewolf segment for this one is fantastic as well.
Mm-hmm.
It deserves to be on our werewolf list.
Yes, it does.
But we're not going to put it on there simply because we're not going to just
fail
the movie twice.
Why didn't you tell me that? You lied to me. You said, "Oh, I'm going to add it to the list." Now, and just change the rules as we go.
I told you that I had this on my werewolf list, but we will do it on your vampire list.
Why didn't you tell me that? I would have picked another vampire movie.
I did tell you that.
No, you didn't.
You had too much blonde in your ears. You weren't listening.
No, you didn't tell me. You just leave out sections.
I did tell you.
No, you didn't.
I did.
You ruined it. You just ruined it. It's ruined. It's over. We should just cancel the show.
Are you done?
Go to the next movie.
Saturday the 14th.
Oh, this one's one of my favorites. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
He and I watch it every Saturday the 14th.
Mm-hmm.
What's hilarious is that I pretty much act like the dad, just total denial that there's anything going wrong. It's Jeffrey, what is his name? And he plays the vampire, and it's hilarious. Ironically enough, in the movie, the husband and wife, they're actually married in real life.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and he also was in Twin Peaks as the sheriff, I think.
Are y'all seeing a theme here with Bethany? It's like she went through Twin Peaks and found horror movies that the actors.
No, it's just a lot of people were on Twin Peaks. Anyway,
that's what you did.
No, I didn't. But yes, it's hilarious. I love when, the vampire is telling her to go. Basically, a family moves into this house, and these vampires are looking for a book, and they can't access it without touching it, so they're trying to get the family to get it, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, it is. I love this movie. It's so funny. Oh my gosh. All right. Anything else about Saturday the 14th before we move on?
Go ahead.
All right. Next on Bethany's list.
No, come on. All right. Stop. You're only doing this because you were like, I may as well just add the count to your list because your list is stupid. I added sophistication. Ever since I added the hunger, he threw a fit.
Tell us why you picked the count.
I didn't pick the count. You did because you're childish.
All right. Let's go to one that's also on your list, After the Count.
Yep, Monster Club.
Tell us about this one, baby.
This is basically, so this stars Vincent Price and is it John Carradine? Anyway.
You want me to look it up?
Yes. He is very hungry. He meets, I think it is John Carradine. Anyway, he plays an author and Vincent Price is the vampire, and he just takes a little bit of blood, and to show him thanks, he takes him to the Monster Club. I was not a fan of the music, but the segments, this is an anthology, the segments were really creative and interesting. It's also one of my favorites because it's one of the few movies that mentions ghouls. Not zombies, ghouls.
Yep, and there's a vampire segment in this one, and it is John Carradine.
That's what I thought. So that would be the dad of like David and Keith Carradine. There's, well, again, Vincent Price is the vampire, and then there is a segment that is a vampire segment. It's one of my favorites. Again, just not a huge fan of the music, but well worth it.
Yeah, it's a good one. I enjoy this one. Definitely one of the overlooked ones because it's not a vampire movie per se, but the vampire segment in it is pretty cool.
Yes, and it's also interesting because it has like different merges of monsters, like human ghouls or hume-goos, and like it's pretty interesting how they go about the monster family tree.
All right, this next one on your list makes me cringe too.
What?
Number 2 pick.
This movie, I like it. It's what it. Go ahead.
No, I'm griping for a second. This was your number 2 pick out of all the vampire movies out there. You're saying this is your second favorite.
Fun. I liked it. Now, actually, to be fair, my numbers, they are pretty random. Like, I don't really feel that these are just ones that I like because, to be honest, I'm not a huge vampire fan, and there's only a couple on his list that I liked, but this is one of my favorites. This is actually, I believe, Kathy Bates' very first movie. She has a cameo of the girlfriend's mom. And yeah, this is one of my favorites. The actor would later go on to play in the show House. Not as House, but as his friend, the doctor. I can't remember his name. But it's a lot of fun. And I love those 80s comedies that are real cheesy and campy that have a horror theme to it.
All I have to say is this.
Okay, just stop it. All right. Not all of us want to, have a RV, to personify vampirism.
Well, at least you end it on one of the best out there. Let's look at your number 1 pick.
Yeah, and this is my number 1. Yes, that is my favorite. That to me, this to me is the quintessential gothic horror movie.
Yes. Dracula 1979.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I think this follows a bit more closely, a little bit like the book. A lot more so than the original 1939 movie.
31.
But definitely just the ultimate gothic romance, because again, for me, not even a romance, just gothic horror. Again, because when I think of vampires, I think gothic.
Yep. And if you like Hammer Studios,
yes,
if you've ever watched any Hammer Studios horror with, especially the Draculas with Christopher Lee, this is basically like a Hammer Studio film. It's fantastic. It's definitely not one of the bloodiest Draculas out there, but as far as like just atmosphere and the gothic creepiness, like definitely check this one out if you have not seen it. This is one of the best Dracula movies.
Yes, it is. It is well worth a watch, and it's very atmospheric, very, very much one of the best. And I think why you don't like my list, and I think we had talked about this, what ultimately what I like about the movies that I picked with vampires, the underlying theme is kind of always the same. These are very toxic, unhealthy relationships with very poor boundaries. And to me, it makes it very entertaining and frightening. For you, you really don't like that.
No.
No, I think you view vampires as parasites, which is probably very appropriate.
Yep. So you ready to get into my top 10? And then I'll have, after I'm done with mine, we'll have some honorable mentions that
All right.
we both kind of
Are you sure you don't want to have horns blaring as you enter your suggestions of greatness?
No, I have some very sophisticated ones on this list.
No, you don't. I read your list. No, you
Absolutely
don't.
do.
They're generic. You literally just went on IMDb's 100 horror movies of vampires and then just picked them at random.
Nope.
Yes, you did. They're generic.
I own all of these movies except for one, and I watch them all regularly because I like
nothing. Like you and everybody else.
I like them. That's what this is. This
I know.
Your top 10. This is Zeke's top 10.
Yeah, whatever. Just get to the list.
So you can kiss my butt, Blondie.
Mwah.
People like my list better than your list.
I don't care. That's evident. I just said that because you went on IMDb. You went on to Twitter and went to the horror communities of the same movies they keep regurgitating every year. Go ahead.
No one. I went through my vampire movies. And picked. And these are the ones that I came up with. Number 10. This is a yearly watch for me. Priest. You have a road
at best.
Place in the future. This has got some excellent action sequences. It's got some really creepy, gruesome type of vampires in it. And so if you like action horror, you definitely need to check out Priest. So he's basically the Catholic Church in the future, owns everything. They used to have this this group called priests that were vampire hunters. They fell out of favor. Vampires start to come back. So this one priest who is played by I don't even remember what the guy's name is, but he goes and he starts fighting the vampires. He recruits a little team. This movie is just, I think it's very, very cool, very, very fun type of movie for me. Yeah. Next on my list, number 9, another action horror that I love.
It is not a horror. It's just pure action. It's a good one, but the only thing horrific is the awful 90s techno.
The 90s techno will forever be ingrained in my mind in that one scene.
I know. I just hear
You can hear it. I can hear it in my head when I just look at the movie poster.
Oh, same in the pleather, that plastic leather that was so popular in '99. Oh yeah.
Yes. So lots of cool kills in this, with Wesley Snipes playing Blade, and as most people know, it's based off a DC comic. So this one is a lot of fun, very violent, very bloody. The sequels are worth checking out. The 2. Blade 2 and Blade Trinity. So this one is always a go-to for me when it comes to vampire movies, and something that I rewatch on a regular basis. But I'm also a huge Wesley Snipes fan. I love his action movies. Have almost all of them on VHS that I will still go and watch. Passenger 57, absolutely love that one. But yes, if you like action horror, then Blade is definitely one you need to make time to see. All right, next on my list, number 8, Vamp. This one,
Very original. I commend you on this one. This was a good one.
this one is very. It's a comedy, but it's also very kind of seedy as well. Not too, for a vampire movie, doesn't have an extreme amount of gore, but the vampires are still cool. So basically what it is you have these two guys who are pledging at a fraternity, and they end up convincing the frat leader that if they can get anything for him, and if they just say it, then they can get it, and they won't have to go through the stupid hazing, and then they can be part of the fraternity. So the frat king says that he wants a stripper. So they go out into the seedy part of they actually go out of town somewhere else, don't they? Yeah, they go somewhere else.
Yes.
And they go to this strip club, and the main stripper there is actually a vampire, and she's holding them all kind of captive, and things get out of hand when they go backstage to try to ask her if she wants to come be the stripper for them. One of the guys gets bit, and then it just goes from there. But this one, some really funny parts, very engaging, very charming movie. Because it's funny, like in the 80s, you had a run of vampire movies. You had Fright Night, then you had Vamp, then you had Near Dark, and then you had Lost Boys. So this one falls in that it's definitely it's 80s, man. It is 80s for sure. Anything you want to say about
Through. Just no, actually, to me, it almost fits more like a 80s slasher.
Yeah, very, very cool one. All right, next on my list is Salem's Lot. This is the made-for-TV movie that's 3 hours long that Tobe Hooper, the director of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Life Force and Funhouse, he did this movie based off of the Stephen King book. And I love this movie. A fan of the book too. I thought they captured some great scenes from the book in this movie. One of the most iconic scenes is the little boy in the window. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. And also the vampire in this movie is just very evil and creepy looking. I will say that he's the Nosferatu style vampire, but he looks way creepier than any of the Nosferatu vampires that I've ever seen. And that's what makes this movie for me, is just the creepiness of this vampire, top notch. Tobe Hooper did a great job with this one. It is, what is it streaming on right now? Is it on Shudder or Screambox or HBO Max? I can't remember. But I know
I can't either.
There's a new Salem's Lot coming out on HBO Max, which, I'll watch it. It's probably not going to be near as good as Tobe Hooper's, but I'm going to give it a shot and see. But this is definitely a classic that is worth watching.
I agree, but myself personally, when it comes to remakes, I really wish that they would give some of the new stuff a try. I don't know. I guess I'm one of the rare ones. I'm not at all interested in reliving the past, but I'm with you. Actually, if you weren't going to put this on your list, I was going to put it on mine. It's one of my favorites. Just the dynamic between Ben and Mike.
I think so.
Yeah, and the actor David Soul, who played Ben, did recently die. So yeah, but he was excellent in that, and to me, I don't think there could be a better Ben than him. And It was a little different than the book, but still really good
all
nonetheless.
the movies are usually, a little different than the book, but it still captured some great scenes.
Also had James Mason in it. I forget the actor. He played the realtor. He also had died. He was hilarious. But anyway, yeah, go on to your next list.
All right. And just again, remind you, if you hadn't seen this one, it is 3 hours long, so you are in for the long haul. When I go back and watch this one, even though I love it, I usually don't have 3 hours to sit down and watch it, so I'll just skip to my favorite scenes. Next on my list, I absolutely adore this movie, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I don't want to hear one word about my liking gothic horror since you have this one on your list. Just saying.
You know why? Because it's got the creep factor. It's got the atmosphere, and it is bloody. It's got some great.
So is The Hunger, and you complained that had gore and violence, but oh no, that wasn't good enough for you, Mr. Picky.
No, because it's the snobby, uppity, rich people.
Yeah. And this one isn't?
Huh? Yeah, but it's like from way back then, so that doesn't bother me as much.
It kind of should with given inflation. I mean, like, it's still the same thing. It's just in a different era.
Hunger is so pretentious. I don't find this one pretentious.
How is it not? But it's still an excellent movie. It's great. Although, didn't you say that you weren't sure if you would have cast Keanu Reeves as Harker?
Yeah, I would say that is the weakness of this movie and why it's not closer to my number one. As much as I love Keanu Reeves, I just thought he was kind of bland as Harker in this one. I thought his delivery with a lot of the lines just fell flat, and Keanu just didn't. I just didn't think he sold the Harker character very well for me, in my opinion. But
see, for me, that's how I always read Harker. Because even in the 79 version of Harker and every version of Harker, that's the point. He's very, very dry, very.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm saying Keanu, his delivery in his English accent was not good at all in the movie. And again, these are just my opinion. And there may be people out there who love him as Harker in this, and that's okay.
Well, yeah, but you know what? I didn't really notice much of an English accent on Winona Ryder in it either, but I thought she did a great job.
Yeah, true. I don't know. Some of y'all
think it's
being too hard on him, but it just, I don't know. Something about him in that role, it didn't do it for me.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I'm just saying I don't know if it was just the way he's written, the way his character is, or if it is the acting. I don't know. But it just, or if that's the way it's meant to kind of be totally overshadowed by the relationship of Dracula and Mina.
Yeah. All right, next one. This is my all-time favorite Dracula movie. The Horror of Dracula with Christopher Reeve by Hammer Studios. 1958, 59.
Did you already go through your whole list?
No, I still have.
I was going to say.
I have 4 more.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I agree with you. If you weren't going to add this one, I was going to as well. To me, the best Van Helsing is Peter Cushing.
Yeah, this movie is just absolute perfection to me. As far as Dracula, it's what I had. Now, I read Bram Stoker's Dracula before I ever even saw this particular Hammer Studios Dracula. And I remember seeing this when I'm like, oh my God, that's just how I imagined Dracula in the book. And so this one really connected with me. And just Hammer Studios does gothic horror like nobody else does. Very creepy, very atmospheric. And this has some sensuality and some blood that was Really kind of what you're not used to in these movies from back in that day, which I think set it apart a little bit. But this by far, and Christopher Reeves is my favorite Dracula, hands down. Hands down. Anything on that one, baby? Hey, Face the Ace, welcome to the chat. Thank you for coming to hang out with us.
No, I pretty much agree with you. Again, this is one of my favorites. Again, if you weren't going to mention it, I was going to. It would have probably been my number one if it wasn't 1979.
Yeah, and I can say that you're going to hate every other movie on my list now that I have left.
Oh, yeah, I know. I know.
All right, up next in the number 4 spot, 30 Days of Night. Was a fan of...
And here's where it starts to go downhill.
And I thought it was such a cool concept with a graphic novel to have vampires in Alaska when it's dark. And this plays off of the lore of the graphic novels. You've got some people who are staying behind, and the vampires come during this time period to feast. It is bloody. It is gruesome. The vampires are probably some of the most heartless, ruthless vampires in any vampire movie that you will see. And that's what I loved about this one. And they got these really just razor creepy, jagged teeth. So this one is definitely, I watch this one regularly. Action horror for sure. Seedy, dingy, violent. Nonstop action once it gets rolling. Anything on that one, Blondie? You want to knock it? Nothing? Oh, I take that
No,
back.
just again, this is where it starts to go downhill.
You're going to like this next one that I have.
Am I, though? Go ahead.
Near Dark.
Oh, yeah.
As Lance Henriksen.
I like this one as much as I like John Carpenter's Vampires.
Oh my gosh, this one definitely has a special place in my heart. Huge Bill Paxton fan, and my favorite scene is when they go into the bar in the pool hall, and Bill Paxton delivers one of my favorite lines in any movie ever, and I can't say it. I won't repeat it on the show because I know sometimes that we have children watching. So I will not repeat it, but those of you who have seen the movie will know what line I am talking about. But this one is, it's got a little bit of a love story to it. This came out around the same time Lost Boys did, and it got overshadowed by Lost Boys because Lost Boys had a bigger budget. This was like the B movie version. This is the reason I like this is kind of what Lost Boys could have been. This is like the Walmart version of Lost Boys, which is way better because you actually have the vampires are mean and they kill people and there's violence. So in that whole, which do you like better, Near Dark or Lost Boys? I am team Near Dark all the way. This is one of my favorite vampire flicks of all time. Anything you want to add about this one? Nope. All right. I'm going to move on to my number 2 pick. Bethany hates this movie. I absolutely adore it. A 1985 Fright Night with Chris Sarandon. It is one of my favorite all-time vampire movies. Came out in 1985. I own this movie on VHS, DVD, everything. I have the movie poster, that particular poster right there, hanging in my room. Everything about this movie, it has that 80s campy feeling to it. It gives you a little bit of you get a little bit of atmosphere. It's got a little bit of a mix of Hammer Studio with it. It's got some cool kills. There is a love story going on in there. And then, of course, you have Evil Ed, who always makes me laugh every time that he is on the scene. So this movie for me, nostalgia. It has been one of my favorite vampire movies since I was in junior high, and I have watched it almost every year since then. I don't think I will ever stop loving this particular movie. Definitely my number 2 pick. Anything about Fright Night, Bethany? Before I move on to my number 1 pick.
I mean, it's okay. I was not a fan of the actress who portrayed the girlfriend. She did play Marcy on Married with Children.
Mm-hmm.
I like Roddy McDowall. I think with all the other like kind of horror cheesy comedies, I feel like it's a little overrated, but again, just my opinion.
Yeah, in your opinion, you're entitled to be wrong.
Yeah.
All right. Now, we move on to Zeke's number 1 vampire movie. My favorite vampire movie of all time. Again, I own this one on VHS. I own it on DVD, Blu-ray. I have the movie poster, and it is From Dusk Till Dawn. George Clooney, Quentin Tarantino, directed by Robert Rodriguez. You have a lot of cameos of some great horror actors, B-movie actors in the past. Tom Savini, Juliette Lewis is in this. Harvey Keitel is in this. A great cast. It is, for those of you who have not seen it, Richard and Seth Gecko, played by George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino, break out of prison, and they are going on a rampage. They're trying to get to the Mexico border. And you have Harvey Keitel, who is a preacher who is kind of losing his faith. And they're on a road trip traveling in their RV. And lo and behold, as fate or God would have it, these people run into each other. And Clooney and Tarantino hijack the RV with the family and take them across the Mexico border, because that's where their rendezvous point is. And they go to a strip club bar called the Titty Twister. And when they get in there, it ends up being a haven for vampires. This one, I love the chemistry between Clooney and Tarantino. Some hilarious lines in there that are, always, I will quote them ad nauseum at times. I really like Harvey Keitel's role as the preacher. I can definitely identify with him in some places in this movie. And then just the absolute vampire carnage in this one. For me, this has everything in it. This is a complete vampire movie for me and what I'm looking for. It's got action. It's got carnage. It is funny. I love the atmosphere that they create with this. It's not a gothic atmosphere, but the atmosphere they create really fits with the movie. And as I have told y'all, give me vampires in the trailer park any day. And so this one is by far my favorite vampire movie of all times, and it probably always will be. I don't know if anything will ever come out that will top this one for me. So From Dusk Till Dawn is my number 1 pick. Any comments on that one, baby? It's funny how different our number 1 picks are. That one is mine. And then where did yours go? There it is. This was Bethany's. That was her number 1 pick. So that is our top 10 vampire movies. Those are our list. Bethany, are you still there, or did you go MIA? I guess you went MIA. So we do have a couple of honorable mentions that I'm going to pull up. But just to have some fun, y'all can be sure to put your favorite vampire movies in the chat. Put them in there. If they aren't on this list, definitely put them in there because we want to talk about them. And then you can also vote and say whose list you like better, my list or Bethany's list, because I know when it comes to movie taste, like people have all kinds of different tastes. So you can put your favorite vampire movies in the chat. Also talk about which lists that you like the best. So y'all can do that. And I am going to mention a few that we thought were worth talking about on the show as some honorable mentions. Are you back, Bethany?
Yeah, yeah. You were glitching out there for a while, at least on my end.
Okay, what part was I glitching that I need to repeat myself?
Oh God, don't. No, I figured that From Dusk Till Dawn was your favorite. It's good. It's just that my only complaint is it seems like it's 2 movies in one.
Yeah, I like that. That totally threw me off the first time that I saw it, and I liked it.
I didn't say it was bad. I just said it was that. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
Good, but not. Yeah. But go ahead. What are your mentions?
Some honorable mentions. I mean, we've already shown that Bethany likes to count.
Not true.
All right. Serious. And I told everybody in chat they can mention their favorite vampire movies, and they can also tell us whose list was better, mine or yours.
They don't need to do that. They can just pick the movies that they want to watch, but I'm doing that.
You're no fun.
And we all know mine's better.
No. All right. Couple honorable mentions. Let the Right One In. The American remake, Let Me In, was just as good as the original. This story centers around 2 kids. The girl is a vampire, and they live in an apartment building, and the boy is getting bullied really harshly at school, and he kind of befriends this girl, and she ends up, in the end, kind of saving his life. This one almost so close to making my top 10 list. It was between this and Priest and that number 10 spot, and I simply chose Priest because I watched that one more over and over than I do this one. But this one has a very special place in my heart. Any movie with kids getting bullied really pulls at my heartstring. And this has some really bloody kills in it. There's not a lot, but when the kills are there, they're very bloody. I think the story is engaging, so this is definitely one worth watching. Any comments on that? Bethany?
Meh.
All right. This was one that was on your list.
Yes, it was.
The original Nosferatu. For me, if you need something to put you to sleep at night,
It is not that bad. You just don't like it because no one's talking. You feel that way about every silent movie. I loved the special effects. I loved the original look of a vampire. I thought it was really good. This was almost going to be on my list. You just, again, your idea of culture is taking dishes out of the sink before you pee in it.
The 1979 version of this is actually worse, and that has talking in it.
Okay, yeah.
I hated it. It was so boring.
Yeah, actually, you are right. All right. I tried, but okay, good point.
All right. Another honorable mention, Stakeland.
Yeah.
Another kind of post-apocalyptic action vampire movie. This is a fun one. They have a sequel. The sequel is not as good as the original one. I've seen this one several times. I think the last time I actually watched it last year around Halloween. This was one that was a shocker for me. I was surprised at how much I liked it. It's definitely towards the action vampire. So as you can tell, that's my taste. That's what I lean towards. So if you like that, then definitely check out Stakeland. Now, before we go on, I will mention this. You may have noticed that Underworld is not on either of our lists. That will show up later. You can imagine where it's going to be because there's only one other option. It will be mentioned on my werewolf list. I saved Underworld for that. It is one of my favorites. So we'll get to that one when we do werewolves. Another honorable mention of mine, and I know some of you are going to groan because people hated this movie, but I liked it. Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman. This one
I don't ever want to hear you bash my list ever again.
I like it. I own it. I love the werewolves in this one. I know
again, I don't want to hear one word. Not a word.
I enjoyed it. I actually went to
and you didn't like The Hunger. You complain about The Hunger. You like this.
Yes, this is nothing like The Hunger.
Please tell me, people watching, that if this does not illustrate that he has the same taste as an 11-year-old boy, I don't know what else does.
Van Helsing, honorable mention. I liked it. I don't care what anybody else says. I enjoyed this movie.
It's fine if you put it in the context of what it is. But, heaven forbid I add anything with class or culture and what is yes. Again, same reaction as you would an immature 11-year-old boy.
Yeah. Go watch your pretentious vampire movie and eat your caviar. All right. Another honorable mention. Definitely worth mentioning.
Yeah.
1931 Dracula. Still a pretty good movie. I still watch it. This isn't a yearly watch for me, but I will go back occasionally and watch this one. Black and white movies that are a yearly watch for me are Wolfman, Frankenstein, House on Haunted Hill, Psycho, Night of the Living Dead. Those I usually watch pretty often.
Not me.
Well, I don't care. You can suck.
And you do. So does your list.
No. My list has cool movies on it. Let's look at this. Let's look what's on here. Yeah. Yeah, who picked that movie?
Oh, and what'd you do? Just go on to any horror community to find Fright Night? How original.
Nope. I already told you my story about Fright Night. I've been watching that one since junior high, before social media even existed.
Should I be applauding for this? I feel like I should be applauding for this.
Same with Near Dark.
Again, I feel like I should be applauding.
You should. You should. Let's look at your hero one more time.
Boy, if that isn't a child throwing a temper tantrum, I don't know what is.
Bethany's style of vampire right there. The Count.
You're just intimidated because I had art and class in my list, and yours, you actually gave an honorable mention to Van Helsing. I don't want to hear a word.
The vampires in my movies would kick the ass of the vampires in your movies. I'll put it that way.
The vampires in your movies all wear pleather and dance to techno. No. What does that tell you?
It's Blade. All of my vampires would wipe the floor with the vampires in your movies. So my vampires are superior.
Except against pleather and chafing and techno music.
The only vampires in your movies that would give mine a run for the money are the vampires in John Carpenter's.
Yes, because they're all wearing leather.
Your rest of the, your
In
rest
the
of the
desert. I don't know why you would wear leather in the desert. You want to wear cotton. Cotton breathes.
Leslie Nielsen would get the crap kicked out of him. Night Flyer would get beat up. Yeah, like my vampires from my movie. Look at all yours. They
Because your tastes are that of an 11-year-old boy.
beat the crap out of yours. That's
Yeah, again, because this is the taste of an 11-year-old boy.
Bill Paxton and Lance Henderson.
I like Near Dark. I do too.
30 Days of Night Vampires beat the crap out of yours. I have Blade on my team. And I have Priest on my team.
Again, this is like having a conversation with an 11-year-old kid.
The people from my vampire movies beat the crap out of the people from your vampire movies. Count Von Count. Let's have him count down your top 10.
If that is not the biggest sign of your maturity level, I don't know what is.
Well, I mean, people have been watching this show long enough to know my humor never got out of 4th grade. So.
Neither did your intellect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many theological degrees do I have, Blondie?
And yet your tastes are still like that of an 11-year-old kid. Like, and you like Van Helsing.
Yep. I do.
You're just angry. Like I said, kids, ever since I said I like The Hunger, the pause and the sound of utter betrayal, I've never heard the likes of which from you. You were just like, it was like you found out I ran over your dog or something. The level of disgust and betrayal was just, I've never heard anything like it when I said I like The Hunger.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
Yeah, and ever since then, he's really had it out for me, and I just looked at me like he doesn't even know who I am anymore.
I still love you.
Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. So that is our top 10 vampire movies. If you haven't seen any of those, most of them are available for streaming. I'm trying to think if there's any that aren't available right now. I'm looking through.
The Hunger you have to purchase.
Yeah. Most of these you can find for free if you have Tubi, Amazon, Shudder, Screenbox.
Or YouTube, because I think Night Flyer's on YouTube. Again, it's very B horror movie-ish, so it's just entertaining. I mean, there is such a thing as, just relax, it's just a movie and enjoy, but some of us can't do that. Some of us have to take a temper tantrum like we're 3.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, actually, PW brought up one that we did not mention.
Oh, Interview with the Vampire.
Yes.
She said that was her favorite one.
It was not. Why? Okay, so why wasn't it on your list? And then I'll say why it wasn't on mine.
It's definitely a favorite, and it's a good movie. So the thing you got to understand is just because a movie doesn't make it on our list doesn't mean it's not a good movie. This is just our preference. I think for me, like Interview with the Vampire was again just not my taste in vampires. Right? You've seen my list. You know what I like. Interview with the Vampire just wasn't my taste of vampires. That's the only thing for me. Had a couple of good bloody scenes in it. It wasn't my style of vampire. That's why I didn't make my list.
Same. It just wasn't. And you're right. I mean, it's a good movie. I haven't seen the show on Netflix. I think it's good. I'm not sure. So I couldn't tell you one way or another, but it just wasn't. I mean, I'm more. I don't know. I don't know if it was because the setting didn't seem right, because we've been to New Orleans, and for somewhere that's very humid and sunny, and New Orleans, the best way that I could describe it is, especially at that time, it would have historically been more of a Wild West town just by the ocean. So to me, when I do think of vampires again, I think of sophistication. So I guess maybe the setting, it just didn't fit. And I know Anne Rice was from there. So I don't know.
Yeah, but it's still one in the vampire lore. If you haven't seen Interview with the Vampire, it's
you should. Yeah.
it's worth checking out. Like, it is a good movie, and it may be your style of vampire. So definitely check that one out if you have not. I don't know, PW, do you know if it is streaming anywhere right now? Is Interview with the Vampire? I'm sure you can rent it on Amazon. I'm just wondering if it's streaming. PW loves Victorian vampires. There you go. If you like Victorian vampires, then that is your jam. Then you will like Interview with a Vampire. Is it streaming anywhere, PW? Because I can't remember if it is or not. But next week, we will be doing slashers. We've been having fun with this one, haven't we, baby?
Oh, yeah. Been having a lot of fun getting ready for it.
Now, the thing with slashers, to let people know, like, we have vast disagreements on vampires, but slashers, we're pretty together on this. And so there's so many good movies. We're basically having a top 10 list that I've made up and a top 10 list that she's made up that we both agree should be on top 10 lists somewhere. Am I correct on that assessment?
Yeah, I would say so. You and I are kind of, actually, it's been more, we've really had to be careful not to, like, we don't want to keep repeating the same movies over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Or like keep sharing the same movie. So it's been kind of, okay, this one will go on your list, this one will go on mine.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Anybody else want to say whose list was better, mine or Bethany's?
Come on, no, don't do that. Just everybody has their own taste. I mean, like, PW just kind of showed that. I mean, like, when she thinks of vampires, she thinks of like those, the ones from Anne Rice. That certain level of gothic vampire that comes right on the tail of the sunshine. And mine are cold and icy cliffs of London and England.
And yours, the bars and the rednecks, and you could scrape them off.
Smell like a dirty ashtray and cheap beer.
But it fits our personality types, I will say that.
This is true. I'm sophisticated. You aren't. So, yeah.
Okay, so it's on, PW says Interview with the Vampires on Amazon and Hulu and Tubi. Okay, it's on Tubi. You know what I don't like about Tubi?
The commercials?
I don't like the commercials, but I hate that it organizes my list around movies I've watched. So when I go to try to pick something in the horror genre, it doesn't give me all of their stuff that they have in horror. It only gives me what I've been watching recently, like everything that would be similar to that. And it was the same thing. Like, I went to try to pick a comedy movie off of Tubi, and I went to comedy, and every single movie in that it pulled up for me in comedy was a horror comedy. And I was like, I don't want to watch a horror comedy. I want a comedy. So,
but what you want and what the algorithm, that doesn't make sense. Like, it's not going to have it's not going to assume that. It's going to assume if you liked the last movie that you would like a movie similar.
I know, but I have various tastes.
You just try to pride yourself on being unique and different, and you aren't, as your list obviously tells about you,
My
Mr. Generic.
list is good. Yeah, PW, Queen of the Damned. There was a couple more sequels for Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah, there was.
Did they do? I know the books. There were several books that Anne Rice did. I'm not. I can't recall how many movies. I thought there was something after Queen of the Damned.
Lestat.
Did they make that into a movie?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
I'm pretty sure.
Because I know I've seen them all. I know I've seen Queen of the Damned, and I will say that for me, Interview with the Vampire, I thought was the best out of all of them.
Yeah. It's just the problem is that the way that the vampires came off in Interview with the Vampire and then in Queen of the Damned, it was very.
Oh, it's night and day.
Yeah, that was my only issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really different. Now, Anne Rice, if anybody reads her, she has a great werewolf series. I really enjoyed her werewolf books. I think the first time I read them was like probably about 7 or 8 years ago. I liked her werewolves better than the vampires, but again, I'm prejudiced. Werewolves is my favorite. If I could be a werewolf, I would. I would let somebody turn me in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that would fit you.
If like everybody's running from the werewolf, like I'm not. I'm like, dude, bite me. I want.
When I think of everybody, I think everybody has some kind of like trope or monster or what have you that they represent. So yeah, it would fit.
Yep. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up because we're an hour and 17 minutes in. But we will be back on Sunday with our study in the book of Revelation. And we will be back next Thursday night with Southern Discomfort and our countdown to Halloween. And Bethany and I will be discussing our top 10 slashers. And just to remind everybody, and I will say it again next week, Italian giallo horror is not on our list. We're having a separate category for that. So when you see our list and you're like, oh my God, Tenebre's not on there, Deep Red's not on there, Torso's not on there, Stage Fright's not on there, should be. We got a separate list of giallo horror that we're going to be doing on this thing. So slashers is next week. Anything else, baby? Do you want to say before we shut it down for tonight?
Sweet dreams.
All right, y'all. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate the support. Thank you for everybody for tuning in and watching us on the Yo Baby channel and the PPR channel and on Facebook. I got to switch screens here a little bit to get the outro music. I forgot it wasn't on the one that I had. So we will see y'all Sunday night. Hopefully at 8 o'clock you will join us, but for sure next Thursday. Stick around. We always play Dustin's inspirational video that he has done for us. And thank y'all very much. We'll see you soon.
Is this what giving up feels like? I don't know. Tell me, have I lost my mind? Nowhere to go, so far from home. Is this what giving up feels like? I don't know.